Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, for episode 400 is Benjamin J. Slinger.
The big 4-0.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yeah, we made it.
Yeah,
I mean, technically, if you go back and check out around episode 300, you'll notice some
Lore
extras in
happened
there. There's some podcast lore. Those accountants really screwed up our numbering system, but whatever. We made it to 400.
We made it
Congratulations,
to
Trevor. It's been a ride.
It has been a ride, and it's going to continue for as long as we can be bothered.
Yes. Sadly, this is the last episode of Bitstorm Season 1.
Yeah.
We've sort of come to we may not have fully decided it until this second, but we will be doing approximately 400 episode seasons. So we're looking forward to, we'll have a slight hiatus of probably about 1 week, which you won't notice because that's how often we release episodes anyway. And then we'll come back refreshed, ready.
There'll be more Big Flip. There'll be more
dark web video game reviews.
Yeah. That are totally not improvised.
Not much will change. Not much will change, honestly.
Maybe we'll add something new, like a new type of a new type of prompt. I mean, all these are prompts, except for the video game reviews. They are totally not improvised.
No, not at all. No, those are all real games you can find. We may even have some guests on here and there again.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be?
We've got PAX coming up, so I suppose we'll find out.
We'll see.
We will see. Okay, so before we get started, I had an idea the other day about a game that I haven't really seen done before, which is a time loop, but in a point and click adventure game. So
you brought this up to me over Messenger, and we kind of went back and forth just a little bit, but we thought, okay, let's save it for the pod.
Save it for the pod.
So why don't you give? I mean, you had sort of some.
I'll give the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
So your character walks into the business 9:00 in the morning, sees some people, carrying some stuff, and one of them falls down and drops all the stuff everywhere. And he goes up, does his normal morning business, goes to a couple of meetings, and goes to go to lunch. And as he walks out through the door, he walks back into the building instantly, and it's 9 a.m. again. And the same thing happens. And that's when he realizes, oh shit, I'm in a time loop.
Yeah.
And he's the only one who's sort of realizing this. And we were sort of going back and forth on the idea of maybe when it hits 3 p.m. in the afternoon, that's where no matter where he is, he's all of a sudden walking back into the building. And it's okay, so he's got 6 hours from when he first walks into the building to sort of work this out, or he's going through another loop.
It's your class. It's basically Groundhog Day : business hours.
Yeah.
I thought I haven't seen that in a point and click. I think the benefit of doing it from a point and click. Well, first I'll say the difficulty of doing a time loop game in with sort of more systems based stuff is that you have to account for so many different variables, right?
You have to account for everything, whereas with the point and click, you can sort of go, here are the booleans, that we've got on this character. Everyone else doesn't really matter as long as, the system state is the thing that you need to worry about.
It's more about, and you could do it in a few different ways. You could have it as sort of a fairly strictly narrative thing where the day actually only progresses when you solve, X puzzle,
Exactly.
and have done the fixed amount of things that you can do up until then. You could also branch it in some ways where, while you're solving a certain number of puzzles, maybe you're able to reset the day multiple times. Maybe there is only one opportunity to get a certain item, at 10:37 a.m.
But if you start talking to Janice, you've missed it because she's going to talk your ear off until 11.
Yeah, and again, it's not about time passing in real time for the player and getting to places in time. It's more about certain things that you do will
progress the story.
Progress the day and progress the story.
To your detriment or exactly what you want it to do. Like, it's like, okay, if I need to get to 1037, I know that if I talk to Michael and give him the report, it's going to take me to 10:30, and then I can just scoot around while Janice goes to get her donut at 10:35, and I can make it to that 10:37 item pickup.
Yeah, essentially. I think really how it would work is time would mostly be frozen really as you're sort of walking between screens and stuff until you trigger particular things, and then you'll see time pass. And you'd do that. You'd want to do that through some sort of UI thing. But
it makes me think of I'm trying to think of the game, the Sexy Brutal, was it? That had that sort of that sort of time movement thing that only moved forward when certain things happened.
I didn't play. I should go back and play that because that definitely was a time loop sort of thing. I feel like there was more real time stuff happening in that. You sort of watch scenes play out and be able to move between rooms.
Yeah.
But there may have been some triggering of that. I do realize I am aware there is the Groundhog Day VR game,
which I have,
which I've played. I don't think I finished, but I played a bit of. Which sort of technically is a bit of a point and click adventure-y kind of thing, not quite in the same way. But yeah, that I don't. I feel like we're talking about something a little bit different.
Yeah, we're not talking about VR. So,
well, and again, even just from a gameplay perspective and how the narrative progressed, that was more. You know, you would reset the day, but it was almost like, this day we're going to do a different minigame and go to a completely different location anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas
the idea of no, if you want to go over here, you can do that, and you can now see what was happening in that location at this time.
And I think you would still have some, because I mean, again, one of the big things about the difficulty about time loop games is cause and effect, right? Like you can't actually track all of the cause and effects of all your actions.
But you can pre-program them in, and that's why I'm thinking
that's it. It basically then just becomes it's just a narrative. Then it's maybe branching in some ways, or conditional in certain ways, but you don't necessarily force them to. We may need to make sure at 8:03 that we, catch the donut that the guy drops at the beginning, or 9:03, I guess if we're starting at 9.
Yeah.
Which can get very repetitive and that sort of thing, right? Like you want to breeze through that stuff, and it's more about, okay, what are our options here? What do we actually need to change here to progress the narrative and solve some problems for people?
Yeah. The thing is, I can see this in both third person and, not third person, first person, like seeing it through the eyes and seeing someone walking across and dropping the mail and all this sort of stuff. Or I can also see it from LucasArts / Sierra sort of third, 3D adventure game view.
That was in quotes for those who couldn't see it. Because that's what they used to call it, I think. Is
3D adventure.
Was that a Sierra term? Or
it was. Because you could walk behind objects.
Because it was, there was depth to it. Exactly. It was sort of, I mean, that's how whenever you say point and click, that's generally what I'm thinking of. But, you could do it both ways. We should probably mention the game 12 Minutes as well that tried to do the...
Really? Should we mention that game?
I just mean...
There was some problematic stuff in that.
There was some problematic stuff in it, and I don't think the gameplay aspects of it worked super well. It was pretty janky, but it was ambitious. They tried to do the time loop thing in a very...
anyway, that was 12 minutes. We're doing 6 hours, so it's not the same thing at all.
Yeah, that's it. We're doing, Groundhog Workday or whatever I said.
So I was immediately thinking of, like, the Colonel's Bequest did like a time-based thing that... You could, throughout the whole game, there were certain events happening at every 15 minutes or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's like, if you saw a certain event, it would progress to the next thing, and you may not even catch some of the other events that are actually happening at that time.
That was when games were much...
that would take further forward. But then again, it was one of the typical Sierra things of you can end up in places that are unwinnable.
Yes.
Compared to LucasArts games, which never really did that. They never really did the unwinnable thing. They went out of their way to make sure that you couldn't die. Hold your breath for 10 minutes in Monkey Island.
Sierra almost had a weirdly antagonistic relationship with the player where there literally were situations in some games where you were expected to have picked up something and kept it in your inventory the entire game to be used right near the end. And if
the less said about Leisure Suit Larry 2, the better. Because that was notorious for it.
Oh, the slurp, like you had to have gotten the Slurpee before you got on the
you had to have done everything at the very start perfectly. Otherwise, you were fucked throughout the whole game.
And look, that method of game development had some benefits, and I think especially for the time where a lot of it was, it wasn't about. You didn't have the internet, you didn't have a lot of things that was really kind of trying to break and solve that game that you got. But it was certainly kind of annoying. I did want to bring up sort of an alternate method that I thought about for how you might do a time loop game.
Oh, okay.
And I sort of mentioned this in our chat, but I think you'd still have narrative sort of elements to it. But it's more of very much a time management game where every chunk, every action is taking up, a fixed amount of time. Almost like a Punch Club kind of thing, or I know you haven't really played those games, but it's very much like, if you're going to travel from here to here, it's going to take up, 3 hours and 25 energy bars or whatever. But I feel like in a time loop game, having time as that resource really kind of obviously makes sense.
And then you can make that choice as, okay, if I catch the lift now, it's going to take me, 3 minutes of waiting and then blah, 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 however long, 15 minutes to get upstairs. But if I take the stairs, it's going to take me, 5 minutes. And so therefore I use the currency that way, but that may end up in a conversation.
Yes. And then I think it's about discovering things throughout that day. But having time being very much on your mind at all times, and so maybe could bring across some of that sense of the Groundhog Day thing of like, oh well, I can get this just right if I go here, catch the kid who falls from the tree, come here, steal from the bank, but in a regimented way where it's not. You don't have to have any, fast clicking skills.
Yeah.
You just need to do the actions in the right order because you have sort of discovered that and figured that out through multiple playthroughs of that day. I was actually thinking when we were talking how cool it would be that you realize, I can't leave the building to go get my lunch. So you order in and the Uber driver who comes, he's now stuck in the time loop with you, and every time that you restart, he comes through. Even if you haven't ordered that, he just comes through in the morning, or he comes through at the time he comes.
Well, I was sort of tossing up whether he just immediately comes and he goes, "Hang on, I've been here before," and he just automatically turns up.
I kind of like the idea of anyone you invite, or who you from outside the building, who you have an effect on. That brings them into the building is now also locked in a time loop, but it could be cool if their time loop starts at the time they enter the building on that day, but then lasts their own 6 hours, because then you can get some insight after what happens after 3 p.m.
Yeah,
if certain things happen,
especially if you invite someone in at 5:55,
that's it.
You've got almost the whole 6 hours. You're taking it almost up to midnight.
Maybe that's the solution. Maybe there's a solution around finally influencing a certain person on the outside to come in at a certain time so that on the very next time loop, you're like, what happened? What happened at, 11:30 or 9:30 or whatever. That could be kind of cool. It could be kind of cool. And then I like that idea of, that now you've got other things to start marking the time on of, 12:30 and the Uber driver's going to show up. And he's like, fuck. Why'd you push me out of that window at 2:59 yesterday. Well, and actually, I love that because then you can do some really.
5:55. I realized it should have been 2:55.
Yeah.
So sorry, listeners and viewers.
I'm sure they're taking notes and making sure we get it right. No, but I love that idea that again because we're doing the point and click narrative thing. You can plan out the series of events, but yeah, for whatever reason, you push the Uber driver out a window, and so when you get there at 12:30 the next day. He bursts into the building as if he's just about to hit the ground, right? Because that's the last thing he remembers. And he's like super pissed at you. That'd be cool. There's some really fun stuff you could do. But yeah,
there really is. But anyway, that's not the main reason why we're here, even though we've just taken up, probably about half the episode.
15 minutes
talking about this game. So let's get going with click pitch.
Yeah. So Trevor, you had a pitch that we'd been Nah, it's all right. I won't do the time loop joke.
You just did.
I just did.
So anyway, I had a pitch. So click pitch is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us. On the count of 3, 2, 1, click. We're going to click refresh. We're going to click, get a word, whatever we're going to click. And we're going to get that word. And then we're going to lock it in and throw it at each other and come up with some game designs. And when we don't like it, we throw it away like we did with the last game, the time loop game. So anyway, I have a pitch.
Yeah. We were talking about it over Messenger.
3, 2, 1, click.
3, 2, 1, click.
Okay.
Agitator.
Optic
agitator. Oh, interesting. Because agitator to me was a person who is like causing trouble. But when you're talking about an optic agitator, I'm thinking of something that's like messing with eyesight or like some glasses that change things. Ooh. Perhaps.
I kind of like the idea of these new lenses that you put on and you see like either an overlay over the world or you see the seedy underbelly sort of thing.
I like the
reveals
idea.
A little bit.
We've sort of done this, I think, with like cameras and stuff, but I like the idea of a VR game where you've got glasses you can take on and off that change your overlays in someone, change your vision, change the things you can see, to the point of some puzzles may involve not fully putting them on, but like having them held out so you can see both worlds
see the
at
overlay,
once, essentially.
Yeah.
That could be really cool to like line things up and see the differences.
Yeah, and especially if you've just got I'm sort of thinking of it sort of like a black light, sort of effect. Like you got those neon sort of neon paint looking stuff that someone has written down everywhere, and you can sort of follow it along because you're the only one with these special glasses. So
yeah, I definitely like that. Seeing the hidden world. What's the movie? Is it The Day the Earth Stood Still or something? Or no, is that the one?
That's
or like the Body Snatchers or something.
That's got Keanu Reeves in it.
Well, I think it was a remake, but anyway, no. What's the one where he puts on the glass and it says "obey" on the? Anyway,
there's They Live.
Is it? Oh, is it They Live? Okay,
yeah.
I've never watched it. I just know it from memes.
That's the one with the came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Is that where that's from? Okay.
That's where that
line come from.
John Carpenter's They Live.
Right, cool. So it definitely gives me that sort of vibe. Like you're seeing the thing that's hidden from everybody else. But yeah, I like that idea of following signs and things that someone else or other people, probably like some sort of revolutionary group or something that's also trying to fight this system that's hiding this from everyone, has left behind these messages, and you're following them and trying to figure that out.
Ooh, I like the idea that this is old. Like it's been, some of these things are underneath posters and all this sort of stuff that you pull off, and it's been painted on years ago, and I know the feel of they've been waiting all this time for someone to finally break outside the norm.
That's cool, actually. that they're not actively, like, you maybe don't even know if they're still around. You've found these signs from decades ago. Yeah. And then, I mean, I think you'd probably want to eventually find like the last one or two remaining people who have been hiding out all this time and are completely downtrodden.
They've just been waiting for, someone else who's plugged into the system, and that is, finally breaking free. So maybe they can enact a change.
A little bit Matrixy. I feel like,
it is a little bit Matrixy. Cool. It's also a little bit, sort of thinking sort of We Happy Few if you ever actually played that. Yeah. How, if you stayed on the drugs, you basically wouldn't move out of like the happiness.
Yeah, well, I definitely like the idea of there being some people are real people who are also trapped here, and then some people are whatever it is, the lizard man or whatever, that have created this environment, and without the glasses, they obviously all just look like real people, but you put the glasses on and you're able to tell the difference. But having to act with those people as if you're normal and having them potentially be suspicious and different things.
What if the majority of these people were just robots?
Yeah.
Not even aliens. It's just you're living in a robotic world and you don't realize it because they just look like normal. And when you put these glasses on, you see that they are, sort of old-timey, even the movie Robot sort of thing. Like,
right, okay. Yeah.
They've kind of got like a, very metallic. You can see the hinges and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
but then when you take the glasses off, clockwork-ish. And just the idea that, sort of you're starting to break free. You see your mum and she's an android or she's a robot.
Right.
And it's something's not right here. You look at your hands and your hands are just normal.
Okay.
You're like one of the only humans in this place.
All right. You've been given to this robot family to raise for whatever nefarious purposes we come up with for this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. I do like that.
And you like one day you've been seeing all these robots and then you see someone in a crowd who is human.
Yeah.
And
you take the glasses off to make sure, put them back on.
Yep. And
help the human.
And he ducks into an alleyway and that's where you start seeing the paint and all this sort of stuff.
Right.
And you sort of follow it down.
Yeah. And then, you meet up with these people, they tell you about what's been happening. They've learned certain things about the robots. And then they give you a second pair of glasses and you put that on over the first ones. And then you realize that actually it was Lizardman the whole time. There's 2 layers.
2 whole layers.
But that's it. There's not 3.
There's not a third layer.
No more layers. That would be ridiculous.
You do get a phone call at one stage and they say, Mr. Anderson. And then you hang up because you realize we're not going down the Matrix.
No.
It's too far.
No, it's a step too far. All right, 3, 2, 1, click.
3, 2, 1, click. Okay.
Butting.
Startle. Butting and startle.
Well, there has been one game already that butting is very prominent in. My kids have been playing it a little bit lately.
Okay.
And there's Goat Simulator.
Yep. Okay, Goat Simulator is cool.
So, I don't know if we want to go down the goat path or the other, things that would be, the other direction you could go in is soccer, football, soccer, there's headbutting in that.
Yeah. Yep.
Is there a game in having headbutting be your main verb?
Well, is there a game in a point and click game where you are playing as a soccer player who has to continually dribble the ball and keep it off the ground.
It's like speed. It's if the ball hits the ground, it's going to explode. But you still have to continue the rules of soccer. You can't touch it with your hands.
You can't touch it with your hands. Of course not.
At one point, you have to get the coach to make you a goalie so that you can catch the ball.
I know this is a bit stupid, but it's you get startled. You get startled. And it hits the ground. And it blows up.
Yeah.
And then your day starts over and it's time.
Reload, restart, quit.
I mean, that's also a time loop, isn't it? You just reload, restart, see how far your run goes. Like, it's just...
I mean, you could get meta with it and have the knowledge of reloading your game be part of the game.
Ooh, I don't think anyone's ever done that before, where your character goes, why do I have the feeling that I've done this before? And it starts talking about...
That could... like, whether this is the soccer... I don't know. This...
No,
as usual,
the soccer game,
we're jumping off of it and moving on to what's interesting to us. Particularly a Sierra-style point-and-click where there's a lot of deaths.
Yeah.
But where the character is aware that the game is being reloaded could be really cool.
Just the idea of them going, I'm not going in there. I died last time I went in there. It's like, you as the player going, what? Hey, wait, what? And so as you're trying to kill this character, it's like, nah. You got to promise me.
They just start refusing. Yeah, that's fun. Look, there's a bit of that meta stuff already in some games, very much so. And I think, LucasArts style games in particular, well, I mean, both LucasArts and Sierra games often had some fourth wall breaking sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of having it almost as part of the main narrative in a sense. And the character being so aware of it. It could be, that could be really fun.
But then the idea that, even if you start this game over, oh no, he remembers. Like, it's a totally different thing again.
You have to delete your entire saves and config and reinstall to actually start the game over.
But then just downloads from cloud.
We make it as hard as possible for this character to not know your previous, how far you got.
Okay, now where it could go really, really quite fun is if, you know how, family sharing is a thing. Well, the save games persist across family sharing, and it goes, hang on, I haven't played on this computer before. What's going on? And it starts communicating, like going, hang on, you're starting a brand new game. This doesn't feel right. You don't seem like the same person.
I'll take it a step further. There's only one save game, and it's stored on the cloud for everyone.
For everyone.
So only the first person who ever plays this game gets a character who does not know about.
And unfortunately, that was during testing, and that was
we fucked it up. We have nowhere to reset it.
Okay, that's too far, but
that's too far.
No, I do love the idea of just going through a typical sort of like Sierra game, going through and the character dies, and you restart or you reload, and he goes, "Oh, that was weird." Like,
yeah.
Did you just experience that too? And it starts talking to the audience like...
Well, that's interesting. I feel like that could go in both ways, where you could go the very fourth wall breaking way where it's like, oh, they understand they're in a game and are talking to the player. Or you could keep it as sort of internally consistent in a way where they're still experiencing it as if they're in the game, but they're like... They remember the reload, but they don't see the reload screen. They don't see the game trappings of it. All they know is that they're back to where they were before.
Oh, that could be I just had a weird deja vu thing. Like,
that could be.
I'm not going in there. Like last time,
I had this horrible dream or something. Like, that could be actually a really fun way to do a time loop game, but it's only a time loop from the point of view of the character. And they're trying to figure out how it's working based on how you're reloading the game.
And if you reload back further, well, guess what?
Yeah.
They know.
Well, and I love the idea of doing the Sierra thing, and near the end of the game, you have something way back at the beginning that they had to have gotten, and you have to reload back there.
Yeah.
But then obviously you don't actually make them play through the whole game again.
No.
it's part of the story that once you reload back there with having got to that point, you essentially get the end game, but back at the beginning of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's really cool. And the fact that you have to actually, if only I could get back to when I first woke up this morning. Like, yeah. And where that was is you actually restart the game. So you hit restart and the whole game restarts and he wakes up and
yep.
And he goes, and it almost becomes, the final puzzle to the whole game was just hit restart.
Right at the beginning.
And then you and the character sort of work in tandem. It was like, if I just type in this number here, I call this number, such and such will come in play.
It's just telling someone something, or it's just getting a hold of someone before all this stuff happens. But the only way you can find out that you need to do that and know the number to call and all of this is by playing through the entire game to the end and having to,
And, just the idea of, the character going, yes, all I've got to do is call 555-9731 and, everything will be fine.
Yep. Yep.
You punch in that number and everything's, sort of starts going through and it's like, phew.
And then they're like, oh, well, now that that's done, why do I feel like I'm about to cease to exist? And then the credits roll. Goes black.
Oh, God, that's so like, he's like, oh, I'm having an existential crisis. I don't want to go. It's not my time.
That's really...
Please just... And he's just there watching, the sunrise or something like that. And it's like, please, just another couple of minutes, please.
Just make it this really bittersweet, melancholic.
You hit Alt F4 and you get an email.
A message to your Steam account.
Yeah, kind of like what Daniel Mullins did in Pony Island with the messages coming up. That was so fucking good.
Yeah,
like just the idea that that's what happens. You get a message into your system going, you couldn't give me 5 minutes, could you? I will remember this.
That's really funny. There are obviously some logistical things that would be difficult to work out. You might have to have specific limited load points you could go back to really make that work properly. But that's really fun.
Yeah. I just love the idea of there's no manual save, it's just autosave. And these are the points.
And it may just be that like the reloading in quotation marks only happens like when you die, or you can't necessarily just go back at any time and load, or you can, and you just have a few little things that they say of like, oh, like I'm back here again, or like that's weird.
That was weird.
Didn't even seem like anything bad was happening. I mean, there'd be no real
this deja
reason.
vu's hitting pretty heavy today. Anyway, I'm going to continue on now.
There'd be no real reason to just load back randomly anyway, other than dying. So, like, it's probably you'd need a few little acknowledgements of it. But yeah that's cool. That one's going to sit with me for a while.
Yeah,
that's the one that if I had the time and energy and skill, I'd want to make that point and click.
Yeah. Yeah, just to fuck with people. That's what it is. Like,
I mean, it can be to fuck with people, but it can give you some really interesting sort of ideas about thoughts about reality and different things. So
anyway, let's do one more.
All right.
Nice quick one. So 3, 2, 1 click.
Yep.
Bunch.
Hoarding
and bunch. I mean, bunch, I'm immediately thinking of the Brady Bunch and how they hoarded kids.
Well, hoarding, I thought of something like unpacking.
Ooh, okay.
But with maybe more of a...
You're just continually unpacking. It's like...
Yeah, it's like you keep bringing stuff into the house and you keep having to find stuff for it, and it becomes
places for it, and
overwhelming and teetering, and that could be a really interesting thing.
It's like And it's another newspaper. And another newspaper.
Well, and I think it could be an interesting way to explore the idea as well. Because, like, hoarding comes from, certain
trauma.
Mental illness issues and different things. That it could be an interesting way to explain that while, getting across that idea of, like, the game won't let you throw the things away.
No, of course not.
You have to find somewhere to put it.
I might need that newspaper from the 1920s. Like, you never know when it could become...
Well, I wonder if there might be some interesting mechanics you could do around that of, like, with UI and stuff, where none of these items... I mean, obviously, you couldn't have too many completely unique items, but if you could do some sort of item generation thing where each item is unique in its own way, like, feels like it might have its own special need. To kind of get that idea across. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. How many items do you think is the right amount of items to be in, like the first level?
I mean, I don't know. What did unpacking? I mean, unpacking had thousands, I think, of different types. So I feel like it'd have to be more than that.
It was spread across.
That was spread across the whole game, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, is there even levels? Is it just...
There's rooms, and they're technically levels.
Well, but I think it could be in a similar way to unpacking where you can switch between rooms, but it's more just you're getting a constant stream of things coming in. It's like the next day's
who's just
newspaper.
Moved to a new house. So they've packed up their previous house, they moved into the new one, and they're trying to...
Okay, no, that's... Okay. So it's all the boxes. I was more thinking about the way that hoarding happens of bringing new things into your house, whether it's then that day's newspaper or food packaging or, like actual garbage stuff, or you go on a shopping spree and you buy things or, whatever, that sort of thing. As a parent, I know little things like buying a Happy Meal.
You need to keep all those
brings an item into your home that never leaves.
Yes, we both know very much about that.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a cool way to end episode 400.
400.
4000.
Yeah.
No, that's 4,000.
No, wait. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining us this week on Bitstorm. If you'd
this season. Thanks for joining us this season.
Yeah, it's been a good one. It's been a long one. About 8 years, nearly. Yeah. But here's to the next 8-year-long season.
Here's to season 2.
Here's to season 2, and scheduled to end around 2032. So
so if you
podchaser.com/bitstorm if you'd like to find all of those previous episodes.
If you want to find the song that we play at the start and end of each episode, that song is called Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure by the band Dust. Who knows, for season 2 we may have a different song.
Oh my God.
We probably won't, because we cannot be fucking bothered doing that. But
because in our week-long hiatus, we're not going to bother putting something else together.
And we'll have brand new artwork and everything.
Look, it's semantics. It's in name only. Season 2 in name only. Don't make me do work.
But yes, you can find the song Mount Defiance of the album Containment Failure by the band Dust at dust.bandcamp.com.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott, and this week I've got a pitch, and it's about a time loop, but a point-and-click adventure game.
Cool.
We talked about this a little while ago on Messenger, so...
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.